Hey everyone, welcome to TiDB Labs. In this module, we'll walk you through how to deploy a TiDB cluster using TiUP. Now, TiUP is a powerful command line tool designed to simplify the entire lifecycle of your TiDB environment, from installation and configuration to scaling and upgrades. It centralizes the management of various TiDB ecosystem components, making it much easier for TiDB users to deploy distributed environments without having to worry about intricate manual steps. Now, I also want to make sure that when I make this video, I'm helping everyone from the most senior developers, technical developers, to even early developers trying to develop their skills and learn more about the database space. So I'm going to include everything from creating an SSH directory, how to move the private key file to SSH, and etc. So let's go ahead and let's get going. So I'm going to open up my terminal. I'm using the Warp terminal for this. By the way, this video corresponds to the written lab steps you have in front of you. So let's go ahead and let's get started. So number one, let's go ahead and create the SSH directory if it doesn't exist. So to do that, we're going to go ahead and do mkdir, make directory, and I'm just going to hit enter, and we're going to create that SSH directory. Now, next, we want to move that private key file to our SSH directory. So let's go ahead and let's do this. Yes, so this file already exists, but I'm just going to do it again since I already did it earlier when I was making sure all these commands work. Then we want to set the correct permissions. And how do we do that? We're going to go ahead and run this command. Perfect. And then last but not least, you want to make sure that you verify the file is in place. So we do that by running this as well. All right, hit enter, and you can see that the file is in place. Now, what we want to also do next is actually SSH into our remote machine. And if you don't know where that is, you'll actually find it when you go back here to the labs section. Here on module 1, click module 1. And you'll find it here. If you're on Mac OS or if you're on Windows, we have the command set and ready for you to go. So let's do that. I'm gonna go ahead and SSH into it. Copy and paste. Yes. Excellent. So once you're connected, you'll see a welcome message, and this confirms that your environment is ready to go. Now, in this next section, we'll stay in our home directory, but we also want to check the contents of the host environment sh file for IP addresses information. And how do we do that? Simply type in cat hosts, oh, it's already here, -env.sh, and you should see this on your end. It might be a little different. It shouldn't be, but it should look something similar to this. Now, what we're going to do next is actually set the node IP address variables on the Linux you connected to. So it already has a command here. It already knows what I'm going to type next. Warp is pretty amazing. So source host -env.sh. Cool. By the way, one note as well is you can actually click this resource tab here on the left side of this page at any time to access all the lab resource information for yourself. What we want to do next is actually install TiUP, since that is why you're here, installing and configuring TiUP. And we need to run this command to actually install TiUP, and we'll run this command right now. Amazing, and now it's installing. Now the installation has completed. What we want to do next is set up our environment so that the TiUP command is recognized immediately. And you do that by running source.bash_profile. And then of course you want to verify that it's installed. So TiUP, type TiUP cluster, checking updates for component cluster. So you might have received the following error, just like I did right here. This usually happens when TiUP's local root JSON file is missing, corrupted, or outdated. All right, it pretty much prevents TiUP from properly verifying its package manifest. Now, how do we fix it? We can try running the following command to refresh TiUP and reset its root metadata. So we'll run this command. Cool. And what this does is that it resets the TiUP mirror URL. It updates TiUP itself and updates the cluster component to ensure proper signing. So as you can see, everything was updated successfully. Downloading. All right, cool. Now let's go ahead and run TiUP cluster again. TiUP cluster, and it should work. Boom, perfect. So it works. This next part is optional, but if your lab environment or production environment is set up to use a local mirror, simply run the following command here, and there you go. Now, I'm not going to do this in this video, but if you want, you can actually review your topology file simply by running cat solution topology 10 nodes YAML. And if you run this, you'll be able to see how many TiDB, TiKV, and PD nodes will be deployed below. But I'm not going to run this for you. I'm just going to go ahead and let you know that you could do that on your own. Now let's install all the required packages. We want to make sure that we install NUMA control on all cluster nodes. The task should be already completed in the classroom environment, so there is no need to execute installation on all nodes. But if you want to do this, enter this following command in the terminal. And we'll go ahead and type yes. Great. So you'll see this beautiful picture again. So what we want to do next here is now install our NUMA control with the following command: sudo yum y install NUMA control. And now it's installing. Oh, great. Everything's actually already installed. Now that it's good to go, let's go ahead and just exit. Next, let's check the system settings for cluster deployment prerequisites. And to do that, we'll enter the following command in the terminal. I'm just going to copy and paste this. Hit enter. As you can see, we'll see results, check marks when things are done. So you will find that some items did not pass a system check. For example, we have limits, THP, system control, which by the way is totally fine, because if that does happen, we can actually auto fix them by running a system requirements check. So this is system requirements check, and let's run this, and you'll see that everything slowly gets fixed. Applying, as you can see here, when it starts saying applying changes, done, everything's getting fixed. Perfect. Now let's deploy the TiDB cluster named TiDB demo using TiUP using the following command. So I'm gonna go ahead and paste this. Now, what does this do? This first of all creates a necessary directory on each node. It uploads and installs the required TiDB binaries, and it configures the cluster based on our topology file. And now what happens when you run this? TiUP connects to each node. It detects system details like your CPU, OS. It downloads TiDB components. It creates required directories for logs, data, and binaries. And it also configures each node according to the topology file. Now, when this does complete, your TiDB cluster will be installed, but not yet running. So we're going to wait for this to finish installing, and I'll come back as soon as it completes. Now let's confirm that the cluster is actually set up correctly. So let's go ahead and type TiUP cluster list. Great. So this lists all deployed TiDB clusters on the system, and right now we see one. Then let's also type in TiUP cluster display. Make sure I'm typing that right. TiUP cluster display TiDB demo. There you go. I just typed it wrong. Perfect. All right. So as you can see, this provides a detailed view. Like, look at all this. This provides a detailed view of your TiDB demo cluster, including node roles, IP addresses, and statuses, and etc. Now, at this stage, the cluster is deployed, but still not yet running. So the next step, we will start the TiDB cluster. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So let's type in TiUP cluster start TiDB demo. All right, hit enter. Amazing. And so this starts PD, TiKV, TiDB, and all of the monitoring components. So we'll wait for this to go. Let's go ahead and check the status. So we'll type TiUP cluster display TiDB demo. Great. Now all components should be up, and if successful, you'll see your TiDB dashboard. You'll see your Grafana URL right here. So I'm going to just go ahead and click on the TiDB dashboard link. All right. So for this, simply type in root, no password, and you'll be in your dashboard. The exact same thing, by the way, for Grafana. If you go to your Grafana URL, simply type in your username will be admin and the password will also be admin. Now, last but not least, you want to connect via MySQL client. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this command to connect. Enter. And let's verify the version. So we'll do select TiDB underscore version now and G, hit enter. Great. So the TiDB version that we're working with is version v8.1.1. All right. And then of course we don't need to be in here anymore. So we're going to hit exit, and that is it. So last but not least, we want to stop the cluster. So let's type in TiUP cluster stop TiDB demo. Yes. Stopping the cluster, and it should be good to go. So you just learned how to install TiUP, deploy a TiDB cluster, and connect to it, and then manage its configuration. So this process might seem extensive at first, but TiUP makes it remarkably straightforward by streamlining every phase of the TiDB deployment process, from bootstrap to maintenance and into a single command line interface. Now here's your challenge. Restart your TiDB cluster, show the configuration details, and shut it down again all on your own. And make sure to take a screenshot or write down the commands and outputs you use to complete these steps. And if you want to go the extra mile, try applying some advanced configuration options we mentioned above, like server labels, replication settings, or performance tweaks, and share what you've changed. As we reach the end of this lab, here are a few next steps that you can consider on your own. Number one, scaling your cluster. You can use TiUP cluster scale out or scale in to adjust your cluster size as your workload changes. You can also check out our advanced configurations, which will allow you to dive deeper into TiUP cluster edit config to fine tune performance settings for TiDB, TiKV, and PD. And last but not least, data import with TiDB Lightning. TiUP can also help you manage other ecosystem tools like TiDB Lightning, which is extremely useful for bulk data imports. By mastering TiUP, you will gain a powerful command line ally that simplifies every aspect of the TiDB ecosystem. Anyway, we look forward to seeing your screenshots or details from this challenge. I'll see you all next one. Happy deploying.